give it. Yeah. Saurabh.
Yes, sir. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible and visible also. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So first of all, sir, a very warm good afternoon to everyone
Little
present
bit
here.
louder. Little bit louder.
Yes, sir. A very warm.
Saurabh, you're not audible.
सर लगता है
Hmm.
उनका लेफ्ट हो गया गलती से।
Sir,
हाँ
he is
नहीं है.
muted. अच्छा
हाँ.
mute है शायद.
Saurabh, unmute yourself.
Sir, he's just joining, I think. Leave.
लीव नहीं हुआ है वो. दो जगह से उसने कनेक्ट किया हुआ था तो
Yes,
एक
sir.
से
Give me a
कनेक्ट.
minute, sir.
हाँ हाँ
थोड़ा सा
ओके.
सर नेटवर्क.
हाँ कोई इशू नहीं है.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Very warm
go
good
ahead.
afternoon to each and everyone present here. Myself, Saurabh Kumar Singh of BA program 5th semester. And today I'm here present to discuss about Balban, basically about his kingship theory. So basically, if you consider from your exam perspective, then I think it's a surety that one question from Balban, sir might have also told you about that. ये तो आना ही आना है. So basically, this question can be asked in three ways. So what I have observed is that the first question
सौरभ
can
फील
be.
फ्री. फील फ्री. सर सर के बारे में चिंता मत कीजिए.
Yes,
जैसा
sir.
बताना है वैसा बताइए. डोंट डोंट बॉदर अबाउट मी. गो अहेड.
Yes, yes. So basically ये क्वेश्चन तीन तरीकों से पूछा जा सकता है. So first one can be कि what steps did Balban take to consolidate the Delhi Sultanate, and you can ask to discuss it with the special reference to his theory of kingship, or it can be asked simply to discuss the kingship theory of Balban, and it can also be asked that why Balban preferred consolidation over expansion, and what steps did he actually take to consolidate his kingdoms. So basically, we'll try to cover each and every aspect of these questions. So before I start, these are, you can say, objectives or the structure of the presentation. So first we'll see the sources, both primary and the secondary sources. Then we'll look at a little bit of background introduction about Balban. The third thing that we'll be looking at is that why he preferred consolidation, and why didn't he focus on expanding his kingdom. और जो चौथी चीज होगी that will be what steps did he actually take to consolidate his kingdom. और उसी में one of the steps that he took was the and we'll discuss kingship theory in that fourth objective itself. So the primary sources. So the primary sources for when you study Balban is usually Tabqat-e Nasiri by Minhaj Siraj, which was written in 1260 CE. The second one is Miftah ul-Futuh by Amir Khusro in 1290 CE. The third one is Tariq-e-Firoza Shahi by Ziauddin Burni. The fourth one is Fazuni Astrabadi himself. He is a 16th century writer. He also, give a very vivid description about the Balban's court. The fifth one is Tariq-e-Mubarak Shahi by Yahya bin Ahmad Sarindi. And the sixth one is Rehla by Ibn Battuta. And the seventh one is Futuh Salatin by Abdul Malik Isami. When you study about Balban, I think, Ziauddin Burni becomes a very important source. And whenever you'll read any of the secondary sources, then you'll find a mention of Ziauddin Burni at most number of times. So the secondary sources that I've considered for this presentation is from Sultanate to Mughals, that is by Satish Chandra. And the second book is A Comprehensive History of India, Volume 5, The Delhi Sultanate by Habib and Nizami. The third one is The Crescent in India, a study in medieval history by Ramcharan Sharma. And the fourth one is Medieval India under the Mohammedan Rule by Stanley Lane Poole. So these were about the sources. Now let us have a quick glimpse about the background of Balban, about a little bit you can say introduction about Balban. So, everyone might be familiar that 1206 was the year when Delhi Sultanate was, founded by Muhammad Ghori Qutbuddin Aibak. But the real founder of the Delhi Sultanate is usually said to be Iltutmish, and he ruled from 1211 to 1236. And he also says himself to be the founder of Ilbari dynasty or the Ilbari Turks. And 1232 was the year when actually Balban was brought to Delhi. He was brought by Khwaja Jamaluddin Basra along with the other slaves. And these all were purchased by Iltutmish. Then you'll find the time period of 1246 to 1266. This was the time period when on the throne it was Nasruddin Mahmud, but actually the whole of the control of the army, the governance, it was with Balban, or we can describe this period as the time period of Balban as the Nayab. And 1266 was a time period when Balban actually annexed the throne, and he himself provided a Delhi Sultanate with a very powerful and determined ruler. And 1266 to 1286 or 87 is the time frame when Balban actually ruled the Delhi. 1287 was his the time period when he died. So basically, I'm not going to go in a lot of detail about Balban, and let us directly move towards our first objective, or the main objective, that why he preferred to consolidate his kingdom rather than going for expansion. So basically, there were two problems going on in that time period. The first one was internal threat.
सौरभ, थोड़ा हिंदी में भी.
हाँ, sure,
little
sir.
bit.
Sir, just a minute. Right, sir. Now let us look कि बलबन ने अपनी किंगडम को कंसोलिडेट करने पे ज्यादा ध्यान क्यों दिया rather than going for expansion. So basically उस टाइम पे दो प्रॉब्लम्स थे. एक we can categorize the problems as internal threat और external threat. तो अगर हम external threat की बात करें तो it was the Mongol threat. Let me show you through a map. I hope this is visible.
Yes, yes.
So one of the main reason जो था बलबन का that he went for consolidation was the Mongol threat. During his reign, जो Mongols थे, they usually they used to appear on the northeast frontier, that is this frontier here. So basically, this was a constant problem for him. Although Sindh or Multan तो दिल्ली के control में था, but the forces of Mongol invasion, they always kept the Sultan busy. So basically, Bourbon quote करते हैं, Barni quote करते हैं बलबन को, saying that कि the rest Mongols were always looking for an opportunity to raid the Doab area, ravage Delhi and its neighborhood. So ये one of the bigger reason था कि बलबन ने पहले Mongol threat को counter करने की सोची rather than going for expansion. The other reason was the internal problems that were present, or the internal threats हम लोग कह सकते हैं. उसमें सबसे पहला जो internal threat था वो था the problem of Hindu chiefs. जो वहाँ के लोकल रूलर्स थे बेसिकली ऑफ राजस्थान. सो वो एक मेजर प्रीऑक्युपेशन थे बलबन के लिए. वो हमेशा से एक अपॉर्चुनिटी की तलाश में रहते थे दैट हाउ दे कैन ओवरथ्रो द टर्किश योग. एंड एज आई सेड दैट मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट थ्रेट जो था इट वाज फ्रॉम राजस्थान ओनली. और इफ आई कोट अ पैरा फ्रॉम मिस्टर हबीब एंड निजामी's book, so he says that when his generals Adil Khan and Tamar Khan suggested the conquest of Malwa, Gujarat region and the other province of Hindustan, so Balban ने अपनी policy state करते हुए कहा कि that it will not be an act of wisdom to leave Delhi and go on distant campaigns in these days of turmoil and insecurity. Maintaining peace and power in our own kingdom is far better than invading the foreign territories. So basically, I've only talked about the kings that were creating a problem in the Rajasthan areas. If we go in a detail, there were a lot of such problems, and also on the northwest frontier, जो कि बलबन के लिए problem create कर रहे थे. जो another internal threat था, जो बलबन के लिए एक major preoccupation था, वो था Turkish nobles का. So अगर हम हिंदू चीफ से कंपेयर करें तो जो नोबिलिटी थी वो एक ग्रेटर प्रॉब्लम पोजेस करती थी बलबन के लिए. बलबन ने खुद वो सोशल रेडर को चढ़ के आया था, राइट फ्रॉम बीइंग अ स्लेव, उसके बाद बिकमिंग द पार्ट ऑफ द 40 और द चहलगानी, उसके बाद बिकमिंग द नायब, उसके बाद बिकमिंग द सुल्तान। सो वो जानता था कि जो ये थ्रेड प्रोसेस करते हैं, दिस नोबिलिटी क्लास। सो अगेन मैं कोट करना चाहूंगा फ्रॉम द हबीब एंड निजामी's book. He writes that as a matter of supreme policy, he had to make those very weapons which he had used for his rise to power ineffective and blunt, so that no one else might be tempted to use them again. The Maliks and Amirs were to be taught that the kingship was beyond them, and there was absolutely no question of rivalry or competition between the crown and the nobility. So he opted various measures that we'll be looking further as we move on with our presentation. तो उसने कई सारे प्रिकॉशंस लिए टू अवॉइड द नोबल्स, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट विद द नोबल्स, बट उसके बावजूद ही फेस्ड लॉट ऑफ रिबेलियंस फ्रॉम द टर्किश नोबल्स, जिनका मेन मोटिव था कि दे आल्सो वांटेड कि एक इंडिपेंडेंट स्फीयर ऑफ अथॉरिटी वो अपने लिए कार्व आउट कर लें। और दिस केप्ट बलबन अगेन वेरी मच प्री ऑक्युपाइड। एग्जाम्पल के तौर पे वी कैन सी द एग्जाम्पल ऑफ तुगरिल एंड यूजबेक। एक्चुअली दे वर वेरी क्लोज कॉन्फिडेंट्स ऑफ बलबन, बट जब उन दोनों को गवर्नर बना दिया जाता ऑफ द लखनौती रीजन, so they started to gain airs of independence, or they revolted against Balban. And Tugril, he created problem for a lot of problem for Balban. लगभग 6 साल तक Balban was occupied with the problem that were created by Tugril. So this was the problem of Turkish nobles. Now let us move to another preoccupation of Balban, और वो था law and order का problem. Let me open a map. So basically, जब बलबन ने थ्रोन को एनेक्स किया तो देयर वर लॉट ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स इन एंड अराउंड दिल्ली ऑफ लॉ एंड ऑर्डर। और बेसिकली जब वो नायब था, डेट इज ड्यूरिंग द पीरियड ऑफ 1246 टू 1266, तो उसने इन एरियाज में अटेम्प्ट किया था टू एस्टेब्लिश पीस बाय erratic and wholesale killing. बट वन थिंग दैट ही रियलाइज ड्यूरिंग दैट टाइम पीरियड वाज कि अगर यहाँ पे इन एरियाज में बेसिकली इन द सबर्ब्स ऑफ दिल्ली, द दोआब एरिया, और यू कैन टॉक अबाउट द रोहिलखंड, रोड टू अवध, अगर इन द एरियाज में पीस चाहिए तो बेसिकली इट कैन ओनली बी मेंटेन अगर वहाँ पे एक परमानेंट पॉलिटिकल एक मिलिट्री आउटपोस्ट बनाई जाए या फिर अफगान सोल्जर्स को पोस्ट किया जाए। सो टेम्पररी, बेसिकली व्हाट ही वाज थिंकिंग वाज दैट टेम्पररी सॉल्यूशन, मतलब इसका एक परमानेंट सॉल्यूशन नहीं होगा। सो थोड़ा सा इसको डिटेल में देखते हैं। तो फर्स्ट प्रॉब्लम वाज द सबर्ब्स ऑफ दिल्ली। तो जो मेवातीस थे और मेयोस थे, दे वर अ मेजर प्रॉब्लम फॉर बलबन, और वो दिल्ली के लोगों के लिए भी लॉट ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स क्रिएट कर रहे थे। बर्नी, इफ यू रीड, he gives a very graphical detail about the problems caused by the Mayos or the Mewatis. So Burney कहता है कि the people could not sleep at night for the fear of Mayos, or nor they could dare to go out of city for visiting various sacred tombs. और basically इन सब problems की वजह से trade was also being very much affected. So during first 2 years of his reign, जब बलबन ने अपने throne को annex किया, तो he nearly spent whole 2 years suppressing these Mayos and cutting the forest around Delhi. उसने काफी लार्ज नंबर ऑफ मेयोस को स्लॉटर किया, वहां पे फोर्ट्स बनाए और मिलिट्री आउटपोस्ट यानी थाने बनाए, और उनको अफगान सोल्जर्स को असाइन किया, और अफगान सोल्जर्स को वहां पे टैक्स फ्री लैंड्स भी दिए गए फॉर देयर मेंटेनेंस। सेम प्रॉब्लम दोआब एरिया में भी थी, वहां पे भी रॉबर्स एंड जो डकैट्स थे, दे हैड क्लोज द रोड टू दिल्ली, और वो इम्पॉसिबल हो गया था फॉर conducting trade, caravans or traders के लिए it had become very difficult to go in and out of Delhi. So Balban ने again similar measures लिए. He ordered the village of disobedience to be destroyed. वहाँ पे men were to be killed and their women, children, they were seized as the spoils of war. जो third problem था, that was the revolts of Katihar, or you can say the present day Rohilkhand. So basically वहाँ पे भी जो rebels थे, they were plundering villages, harassing people in the present day Badayu और अमरोहा area. So वहाँ पे भी बलबन ने similar methods adopt किए. Similar methods उसने road to अवध जो बंद हो गया था उसे open करने के लिए भी बलबन ने similar method adopt किए. So basically ये सारे reason थे जो जिसने बलबन को काफी preoccupied रखा during his whole reign. So he couldn't focus much more on expansion. Let us move to our second objective, that basically उसने क्या-क्या steps लिए to consolidate his kingdom. So a first step that he took was, to have a very clear, very decisive, very, precise kingship theory. This we'll see later. और other जो measures लिए उसने, सबसे पहला measure लिया that he tried to reorganize his army. So, Balban was a firm believer, and his political experience had also taught him कि अगर if you want a very strong centralized state, then you need to have a very strong army. He believed that army was the main pillar of the government, hence it had to be reorganized before any other department of the government. And first to reorganize his army, the very first step he took was कि उसने numerical strength बढ़ा दी अपने forces की, और कई सारे thousands of loyal experienced officers को appoint किया in the central contingents. और बलबन की एक military policy का सबसे जो main point था, main emphasis था बलबन का, that the soldiers, they should be kept happy. They were frequently provided with we can say good money. They were provided with iktas, they were provided tax-free land. So he believed that the military people, they should be kept happy. And the third thing he did was that he believed in frequent military exercises, to keep them vigilant and active. So he emphasized on the needs of frequent military exercises. और basically जो ये frequent military exercises हुआ करते थे, Balban used to keep it a secret, and it was disclosed on the very day जिस दिन exercise होने वाले होते थे. So basically these were some of the measures that he took to reorganize his army. The second, very clear step that he took was he adopted a very, he didn't go for a single policy towards Mongol. First when he was Nayab or Nayab-e-Mamlakat, we can say he adopted for a policy of diplomacy. And when you'll read, you'll find that when he assumed the throne, he went for the policy of we can say a straightforward policy towards Mongol. Let us look into this with a bit of detail. So it is said that Balban had a very diplomatic, close relation with Halaku. Halaku was the Mongol Il Khan of Iran, an important figure after the death of Chinggis Khan. So Balban maintained quite good relations with Halaku, and they exchanged quite envoys, and letters were exchanged between them. And the main agreement that they reached was that the sultans of Delhi, they would not try to disturb the Mongol in the Sindh area and in the areas mainly west of Lahore. And on their part, the Mongols were not going to make any attempt on the subcontinent. So this this arrangement went fine by the time period of, I think, 1246 to 1266. But as soon as Balban annexed the throne in 1266, and Halaku had actually died by that time period. So this agreement between Halaku and Balban came to an end. And despite Sher Khan was Balban's cousin. Sher Khan was holding iktas in the northwest frontier areas in Lahore, Sunam and Sabana, and in Haryana, in Debalpur. These all iktas were with Sher Khan, but then also Mongols were frequently able to make quite raid on the Indian subcontinent. So due to this, Balban went for a straightforward policy.
सौरभ,
yes sir.
सौरभ, हाँ, ये देखिए, जो आप लोग ये ग्राफ्स देख रहे हैं, चार्ट्स, स्टेट टू कंसोलिडेशन, सो और ये आपको लिखना है अपने नोट्स में. ये नहीं कि सिर्फ दीज आर ओनली फॉर द क्लास एंड डिस्कशंस. अगर इस तरह से आप लिख रहे हैं तो आपको डिफरेंटली इतना एलेबोरेट करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी व्हेन वी राइट योर आंसर. सो स्टेप्स टू कंसोलिडेशन मतलब किस तरह से कंसोलिडेट किया गया, किस तरह से सुदृढ़ किया गया सत्ता को, ये पॉइंट्स हैं. अब इसका क्या पर्पस होता है? पर्पस ऑफ ऑल दोज थिंग्स दैट सपोज दैट देयर आर 6 points are here. Suppose that due to the time constant, you are not going to write all 6 points. At least you touch upon 2 points and rest. It is very clear through the chart. So The chart is, that's why the chart is important. And really till fabulous, go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. So basically, Sher Khan को लेके थोड़ी सी controversy between historians themselves. Some say that he was poisoned by Balban on belief that Sher Khan had a connection with Mongols and to not take any strict actions towards them. So basically, Sher Khan was poisoned by Balban. Let us assume for the time period this, and after that, Prince Muhammad, the eldest son of Balban, he was appointed, and those iktas of the northwest frontiers were given to him. And Prince Muhammad, he was very able और एक काफी energetic prince था, and he appears that during the remaining years of the Balban's reign, the Mongols attack तो continue रहे, लेकिन but जो defensive arrangements थे जो बलबन और प्रिंस मोहम्मद ने establish किए थे in Multan and Lahore region with river Beas as the line of military defense. Let me show you the map here. With the river Beas as the line of military defense, तो वो military arrangements वहाँ पे रहे और Mongol attacks were not any made any further during the Balban's reign. और एक important aspect इसमें था that he used the construction of forts here also. हमने देखा कि law and order के problem को भी counter करने के लिए बलबन used this a construction of forts. जहाँ पे भी he cleared the area, he used to construct forts there. Similar measures बलबन ने लिए when to counter the Mongol problem. So in 1270 he ordered the fort of Lahore to be rebuilt. और उसने ताबर हिंद, सुनम एंड सबाना एंड वहाँ के भी फोर्स को रिपेयर कराया और वहाँ पे स्ट्रॉन्ग फोर्सेस को पोस्ट किया टू कीप अ चेक ऑन द मंगोल अटैक. नाउ लेट मी कोट बर्नी. Burney writes, and I quote, that the Mongols were no longer dared to attack across the Beas as the line of military defense continued to hold. Even the military Mongol forces of 70 to 80,000 Savars, they could not face the forces of Prince Muhammad from Multan, Bughra Khan from Sumana, and Malik Barbak from Delhi. So basically, these were the measures that he took to consolidate his kingdom. Now, let us move to one of the very important measures and that he took to counter this, to consolidate his kingdom, and that was to have a very clear and decided to have a very clear kingship theory. So basically, kingship theory, what does this mean is that, according to me, I think there is a kingship theory of every king. You can, you can devise for yourself kingship theory of, Iltutmish, of Alauddin Khilji. But what the thing with Balban was that, he laid quite an emphasis on his kingship theory. And if you try to define this term, so basically what the kingship theory for Balban meant was that he meant to prove to the world that the right to rule is given by the God and not by the people, and that his actions, that is Balban's action, whether good or bad, the king is directly responsible to God and not to anybody else. So basically, this was a very popular concept when you go back in time. This was also referred by some philosophers as the concept of Rex Lex, where the king is above everything, king is above law. So this was the concept there. But today, you almost know we have the concept of Lex Rex. India is a republic, and most of the republic countries have the concept of Lex Rex, which means that law is the king of kings, and no one is above the law. Leaving that aside, let us look at the reasons that what were the reasons that he had to have a kingship theory. The first one, as I said, was that he wanted to consolidate his kingdom and counter the external threat, the internal threat that we have already discussed. But another aspect to this was that he had a guilty conscience because he has used lot of fair and unfair, let us say lot of unfair means to come to this post. For example, he had to murder Nasruddin Mahmud, his king, to become the Sultan of Delhi. So this guilty conscience was always there, and he had also a very inferiority complex because we all know that he was a slave. और ये tradition थी medieval times में कि एक slave king नहीं बन सकता है. So through this kingship theory, he wanted to wash off this reputation of being a slave. Again, I would like to read a para from Habib and Nizami's book. that by dining into the ears of his Maliks and Amirs, most of whom were his quondam colleagues, again and again that the kingship was beyond them, and it was something divinely ordained. He wanted to wash off the stigma of being a regicide and impress upon their minds that it was divine will that had brought him to the throne and not the poisoned cup and the assassin's dagger. So now let us move to actually what was his theory of kingship. So these were some of the elements of his kingship theory. Let us start with first element that he believed in the divine origin of kingship. Actually, he claimed himself to be the descendant of legendary Iranian king Afrasiab. And before that, if you look at the theory of kingship as a whole, so this he actually derived this concept of kingship theory from Sassanid Persia, and he tried to link himself to the legendary Iranian king Afrasiab, and he used to call himself Niyabate Khudai, कि वो recipient है of divine grace, और वो खुद को shadow of God बताया करता था, and used to call himself Zille Ilahi. Or he used to say that his heart, that is the king's heart, is the repository of divine guidance and radiance. Or उसमें no doubt he was very despotic, very cruel king, but at the same time, I would say he was very much, he tried to maintain his relationship with every aspect of people. So he also maintained his relation with the caliph by saying that he was Nasir Amir ul Mumin, that is, he was caliph's right hand man. So what was the actual implication of this aspect of the kingship theory? The actual implication was that कि वो बताना चाहता था कि जो king की power है वो nobles के पास या people से, जो king अपनी power है वो nobles या people से नहीं derive करता है, but वो जो power है वो God से derive करता है, और जो उसके actions हैं they cannot be subjected to public scrutiny. So basically this was a subtle religious device to sanctify the exercise of his despotic authority. The second aspect of his kingship theory was he believed, in a strong monarch. He wanted a very centralized government, and he was not ready to share power with anyone. भले ही उसके close relatives हो या कोई भी हो, he didn't want to share power with anyone. He also destroyed the forty or the Chehelgani, which he believed to be a major threat to the throne. उसने एक spy system start किया that were known as Barits, to keep a close watch on the nobles, that if they are planning something against him. So basically, he started the spy system, and he, we can say he also take a good step. He took a special measure. उसने अपने relation improve करने चाहे. सुल्तान और noble का जो relationship है, he wanted to improve this relation. We can see an example that he actually started celebrating the festival of Nowruz, which is the Persian New Year. So ये एक step लिया उसने अपने nobles को खुश करने के लिए. जो अगला aspect है उसकी kingship theory का, that is his hatred for the low-born people. So basically उसने ये decide किया that he will not give any post or in the government or any ekta to low or ignoble people. Basically, we can link it to the previous thing that I just spoke about, that he wanted to improve the relationship between the Sultan and the noble. So हम देख सकते हैं कि शायद ये उसका एक measure था to improve, so that only the Turkish people or the Turkish nobles have that the post or commanding authority in the government. So this aspect can be linked to that. But what Balban said, that what was his reason of hating the low-born people? He said that it is derogatory for dignity of a ruler to establish any contact with low or ignoble people. Bernie says that since Balban considered himself to be the descendant of legendary Iranian king Afrasiab, so if he gave government post या फिर कोई भी authority की post अगर वो किसी mean या ignoble people को दे देगा, तो it would prove to others that he himself came from ignoble stock. Bernie also quotes Balban saying that my veins begin to agitate when I behold a low-born people. So these were, his policies that he took towards low-born people. Or a example, we can see that when Balban strongly refused to give audience to Fakar Bawani, who was a merchant, but basically on the ground that he belonged from a low or ignoble caste. There were several examples that are mentioned in Satish Chandra and Habib and Nizami that you all can go through. And the another aspect of his kingship theory was that he was a very despotic ruler, and by this time, I think most of us will agree on that. He can be termed as the most despotic ruler of the whole of the Delhi Sultanate. So, but what he did was he actually laid great emphasis on justice. He was despotic, but he tried to counter it by laying great emphasis on justice. और बर्नी के अकॉर्डिंग जो उसका जस्टिस था, उसके कंसिडरेशन था, इट वॉन हिम फेवर, वो एक फेवर पैदा कर रहा था इन द हार्ट ऑफ पीपल. लेट मी साइट यू एन एग्जांपल. So एक example of Malik Bakbak, who was a close confidant of Balban and governor of the Iqta of Badaयूं, who had actually flogged one of his servants. So उसने अपने एक servant को in the drunken rage, he had flogged the servant to death. And when his widow, that is the widow of the servant, has appealed to Sultan for justice, Balban ordered Malik Bakbak to be flogged to death, and the Barid or the spy, जो जिसने ये information बलबन तक नहीं पहुंचाई थी, he was also hanged publicly. There is another example of Malik Habat. But what Bernie had to say about this aspect of Balban was that Balban showed no favor or no inflexibility when we talk about his justice, showing no favor to his brethren or children or to his associate or attendants. But if you read Habib and Nizami, you will find that what Habib and Nizami writes is that no doubt he gave a lot of emphasis on imparting good justice in his kingdom. But when the matter came about his close ones, about his relatives, about his descendants, so he didn't care for anything, be it justice, be it ulema itself. So basically, this is a contradiction that you'll find. Now, without giving much time to this, let us move to another important aspect of his kingship theory. That is, he laid great emphasis on external dignity and the prestige of his kingdom. Basically, his court. So his court was again based on the Iranian model, and he tried to, copy the etiquettes or ceremonials of the Sassanid Persia as much as he could. और it is said that कि वो अपने कोर्ट में he always tried to maintain a very strict environment. वो कोई भी loose talk, कोई भी joke, even Bernie says that कि किसी ने उसे कोर्ट में हंसते हुए भी नहीं देखा था. And he also started two customs in his court. जो पहला था, it was known as sijda. It means you have to stretch out on the ground in front of the sultan with your head, with your forehead touching the ground to acknowledge the superiority and the power of sultan. जो दूसरी practice थी, it was known as pabos, and pabos means kissing the sultan's feet to acknowledge his power. And basically वो अपने court को काफी decorative रखता था, to create an influence in the mind of people. And basically जो main motive था all this kingship theory, these elements के पीछे वो ये था कि वो एक feeling of awe-struck कराना चाहता था in the mind of people. साथ में he wanted to people to fear him. Now at last, let us look at his most important aspect that he tried to portray. That was his policy of blood and iron. So basically, what this policy was that it allowed him to use all sorts of methods for terrorizing his enemies and inflicting violence upon them. चाहे वो use of sword हो, चाहे harshness, strictness, poison, कोई भी method use करके बस he wanted to his policy being he wanted to see his policies being implemented. For example, you can say actually this policy of blood and iron was his most important tool that he used right from the beginning, right from the time period when he was the Nayab itself. He conspired, it is said that he also had a hand in the conspiracy against Razia. He also conspired and removed Masood and enthroned Nasruddin Mahmud and absorbed all the powers from him. and became नायब himself. और उसकी पॉलिसी का मतलब बेसिक मीनिंग ये था कि डू एनीथिंग फॉर इम्प्लीमेंटिंग योर पॉलिसी, डू एनीथिंग फॉर प्रोटेक्टिंग योर किथ एंड किन. लेट मी गिव यू ऑल सम एग्जांपल. इट इज सेड दैट कि उसने एवरी मेंबर ऑफ इल्तुतमिश, मतलब मोस्ट ऑफ द मेंबर्स ऑफ इल्तुतमिश फैमिलीज को मरवा दिया मर्सीलेसली. और ही यूज्ड बोथ free use of both poison and dagger in order to remove the talented Turkish nobles, जो कि उसे लगा कि they might poses a challenge for his descendants. So basically वो नहीं चाहता था कि after his death that there might be a competition between his son and the Turkish nobles for crown. So इसलिए most of the talented Turkish nobles को उसने मरवा दिया. He monopolized, he tried to monopolize the power of Turkish nobles in the frontier areas. We already saw that he destroyed the forty or the Chahalgani, and he killed his own relatives like Sher Khan on grounds of pure jealousy. Now, Professor S.R. Sharma, just to show his cruelty, I would like to quote Professor S.R. Sharma. Professor S.R. Sharma says that when one of his generals who was defeated by rebel, that is from Togril, so when he came back with the news and he tried to inform the Sultan about this, so what the Sultan did was, the infuriated Sultan, in his paroxysm of rage, ordered the defeated generals to be hanged over the gates of Ayodhya. And Stanley Poole also cites a similar example. Even he says that even a beggar to whom the observers had been kind, they were not spared. And Dr. V.S. Smith also says similar thing. He says that by royal command, many of the rebels were cast under the feet of elephants, skinned from head to feet. Some of them were hung over every gate of Delhi, and one had never heard of such a tale of terror. So this was about his kingship theory. So basically, a quick assessment, if we try to conclude this portion. So, we can say that no doubt Balban was the real consolidator of the Delhi Sultanate. He countered so many problems, be it the Mongol problem, the law and order. No doubt. So there's no doubt that he was a real consolidator. But if we look at the another aspect, him killing the Turkish nobles, the talented people. So what actually Habib and Azami wrote was, I would like to quote a few lines from that book, that anxious to secure his personal and family interests, he
सर
completely,
लग रही
he
है
completely,
जी, लैटरिन लग रही है, लैटरिन करने जाऊं क्या सर जी? टट्टी लग रही है.
anxious to secure his personal and family interests, he completely ignored the interests of Turkish governing class. He destroyed the talent among the Turkish nobles so ruthlessly that when the Khaljis entered the field as competitors for the throne, they were completely outnumbered and defeated. Balban's fall for the Turkish power cannot be, denied despite his consolidation policies. Thank you, sir.
Great. Good. एक मिनट. अगर किसी को ये लग रहा होगा कि काश सौरभ का पीपीटी या सौरभ का आइडिया उसको मिल जाए या उसका नोट्स मिल जाए, सो इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल. मैंने सारे थर्ड ईयर्स को मना किया हुआ है कि डोंट पास योर आइडिया, पास योर आइडियाज, बट what is history? It's a production of knowledge, communication of knowledge, and teaching of knowledge, not that you provide notes to the juniors. So सारे सीनियर्स को ये है कि pass your ideas but never pass your PPTs and your notes. Am I right, Saurabh?
Yes, sir.
So